I'm Emily Kirsch, founder and managing partner of Powerhouse Ventures and founder and CEO of Powerhouse Innovation. This is What It Takes, a show about the entrepreneurs making our clean, energy abundant future a reality. Over the years, we've spent a lot of time on the show talking about the grid, why it needs to expand, where it's falling short, and what it will take to meet growing demand. We've talked about improving how the grid gets planned and built and the bottlenecks that slow projects down. But even if those bottlenecks are resolved, the system itself is still becoming harder to manage. Demand is rising fast, driven by electrification and data centers powering AI. And at the same time, the grid is getting more complex. Distributed resources, extreme weather, aging infrastructure are making it harder to plan, predict, and operate the grid. And the tools utilities rely on weren't built for this kind of system. Our guest today has spent his career inside that problem, from working at a utility to building one of the early software platforms for managing distributed energy. Josh Wong is the founder and CEO of ThinkLabs, a Powerhouse Ventures portfolio company. We were fortunate to co-lead their $5 million seed round in 2024. ThinkLabs is building an AI copilot for the electric grid, helping operators understand and manage the system in real time. Using physics-informed models, the platform can compress analyses that once took weeks or even months into minutes. Josh was born in Hong Kong and raised in Toronto. He began his career at Toronto Hydro, where he saw firsthand how difficult it is to operate the grid in practice. That experience led him to found Opus One, a company focused on helping utilities manage increasingly complex power systems, which was later acquired by GE. Josh kept coming back to the same underlying problem. Utilities need to move faster, but the tools they rely on make that nearly impossible. ThinkLabs is his answer. In our conversation, Josh walks me through his journey, what it takes to build in one of the most complex and risk-averse industries in the world. Today, ThinkLabs has raised more than $30 million from investors including Energy Impact Partners and NVIDIA, and is working with partners and customers including Southern California Edison, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. Josh Wong, welcome to What It Takes.
Thank you, Emily. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you here. Josh, you spent your early years in Hong Kong and then moved to Toronto when you were 8 years old. Paint me a picture of what your early life was like, first in Hong Kong and then in Toronto.
Yeah, I think we were very, very modest. We were quite poor. So reason being, I think my dad lost his parents when he was very young, around early teenage years. My mom is the oldest daughter of a family of four, but I think Hong Kong or Chinese culture is during that time. The oldest daughter don't receive a lot of attention, and she has polio. So with a disabled mom and a father who lost both parents, I think we were living very grounded, grounded means. And so, yeah, I think my brother was also very sick when he was young. So he's 3 years older. The constant story my mom tells all the time is I was running before my brother learned how to walk. And so I think for me personally, I think a lot of attention went to my brother, but I think I carried on and took care of myself, but lived as a simple, innocent young child.
What was like your home like in Hong Kong? Like, what did things physically look like for you? And I don't know, what were you doing as a kid in
Yeah.
Hong Kong?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of memories, to be honest. I think still trying to dig up more of that and remember it. But we lived in a simple apartment in the suburbs of Hong Kong. It used to be close to the Victoria Harbor of the ocean now, which is now filled. And faint memories, just a bit of bike rides by the seawall. Yeah, not too many memories of that time.
And then what about in Toronto? You came when you were 8. Tell me about your childhood post-immigration.
Yeah, so we immigrated for a variety of reasons, some family reasons, some of the political situation in Hong Kong. But we wanted a new start, and I think I'm super thankful we have the new start. It was 1990 when we came to Canada, moved in a place called Scarborough in Toronto. And the joke then is Scarborough at that time we call Sarsborough because there's a lot of Asian population. So there's a bit of a stereotype of that region. But again, just modest living coming here. We did have some English education in Hong Kong, but I was still part of ESL. English is a second language, so had to get my English in order. But early days, just trying to get to adapt to locals. Um, I think there over the years, I think there were more and more immigrants. Some bullying, not the hardest. It's just regular playground bullies. Could take that. Lost my lunch a few times and got into a few fights. I think that was fine. But yeah, again, that's what I could recollect.
Would they make fun of your accent, or what were they? What were they?
Mm, it's funny. It's like the bullies tends to be those same Asians who were born locally, not the true like locals, but we call them CBCs, the Canadian-born Chinese. I think those tend to be the bullies. And yeah, but I think over time, I think more and more immigrants came and we sort of band together. It was like Street Fighter time, so we were playing like Street Fighter moves. And once we hit a playground, then everybody starts playing together. So yeah, I think that was fun.
What was middle school and high school like for you?
Yeah, so middle school is when I started waking up. I think before middle school, I was a bit lost because I think because of the immigration, because finding sort of getting my bearings, knowing who my friends are, trying to wrestle with my bullies. But middle school was where, hey, it's time to like wake up and get serious. And of course, identity crisis during that time. So like, who am I? The whole question of what does Josh look like? Like, who do I want to be? And I found my passion in two things. One is school, so I began to take studies more seriously, and the second is music. I landed on playing the cello, and I picked up the cello not because I enjoyed the sound at that time, but the school teacher said, "Hey, we are lacking cellists." So I stumbled upon learning the cello, and I fell in love with it. So that was when middle school happened.
You mentioned your mom having polio. What was it like growing up with a mom who had polio?
I think she tried her best. Of course, ever since my brother was born, she stopped working as well, and of course, also quite poor coming from that type of background, family background. I think she had a childhood that was quite rough, and so I think we definitely respect her and gave her the honor of a mom. But I think there was limitations, of course, of how much we can travel or how much she can do. But I think she really tried her best as a mom.
And then I know your dad eventually built a really successful career in Toronto, but tell me about his career prior to immigration and then his career post immigration.
Yeah, so of course I'm in energy. So coincidentally, I don't think it's related, but he was also
It cracks me
working.
up that you don't think it's related.
I don't think so. I found my own path. I
Of
found my
course you
own
did. Of course
destiny.
you did.
But he worked for China Light and Power. And so he was in low voltage engineering, and he wrote a bit of the codes and standards, and actually he wrote 2 volumes of textbooks to define these standards on low voltage. So anywhere from the homes to even manufacturing or industrial facilities. So I think he was respected in Hong Kong.
Mm,
Coming to Canada was really rough
mm,
because Canada doesn't recognize the engineering license from Hong Kong.
Mm.
even though we sort of still trace back to British origins, but Professional Engineers Ontario wouldn't recognize it. So he had to really start from scratch.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so for quite a number of years, he was out of a job. So I think making a living here, trying to reestablish, paying for the mortgage with two young kids, and my mom not being able to work,
Mm.
I think it was very tough on him. I
Mhm.
think he
Mhm.
tried his best. He was super hardworking. He's a brilliant guy, but down to earth and keep it to himself type of guy.
Mm.
Very more traditional Chinese. And he landed on fixing computers,
Mm.
and which of course is not a very honorable job.
Mm.
But then through a friend, he joined Rogers, which is the telecom company here. And he worked his way up to become the lead enterprise architect, looking at a lot of the
Mm.
server architecture, the entire data backbone of the telecom company. So he really he's brilliant. So
Mm.
he climbed pretty quickly. But thank God during that time we have a stable source of income.
Mhm. Mhm. How did you all get by given him not working for years and your mom not being able to work when you first got here?
I think the joke is we were poor because we
Mm.
couldn't afford the O and the R. This is not my analogy. I'm quoting somebody else here, but we were poor. But still thankful we managed
Mm.
to still over time pay the mortgage off,
Mm.
and but on our side we kept it very grounded, and I would say a bit too lightweight.
Mm.
So not much like family vacations, or our toys are
Mhm.
typically secondhand. Or I still remember toys coming from basically the dumpster,
Mm.
picking it up, and it's half broken all the time.
Mm.
So I think during those times we just kept it as simple as we possibly can. And
Mhm.
so when I was going to like high school, late high school, I think we started having a bit more in terms of like we could afford some more toys,
Mhm.
and but dad's always busy, so not a lot of like no team sports, not a lot
Mm.
of celebrations, vacations, or family events, and
Mhm.
just again down to earth.
Mhm. Were you aware of your dad's work either in Hong Kong or in Toronto? Like, did he ever talk about it? Did you find it interesting? Did you think it would come totally full circle in your own life and career?
No, no, and no.
Mm.
He's very quiet,
Mm.
so he doesn't talk much. He doesn't share much.
Mm.
He is extremely introverted,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think work. My work is my mission. My
Mhm.
work is something
Mm.
I take pride in. It's my calling. It's my purpose. For him, I think it's really trying to make a living,
Mhm.
and so he doesn't like to talk about it much. And so I'm sort of trained not to ask a lot of questions.
Mhm. 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 My dad is the exact same way, very much a
Yeah.
monk, lives like it in a pretty extreme way, so I understand.
Exactly, and I think he in the end, I think he was in a fairly comfortable position, but he took an early retirement, and
Mm.
of course
Mhm.
he can use more money and more savings,
Mm.
etc. But he's like, I would rather retire poor and
Mm.
free.
Mm.
Rather than work in a large company with its corporate bureaucracies
Mm.
and trying to satisfy executives. So
Mm.
that's why, yeah, he took an early retirement and continue to live as simple as ever.
In 2000, you go to the University of Toronto to study electrical engineering. Why University of Toronto? Why electrical engineering? And what were you learning about what you wanted to do with your career and what you didn't want to do with your career based on your undergrad?
Continue to stumble upon it. So I vividly remember that I approached my dad and say, "Hey, I want to go into university for music."
Mm, you loved it that much.
I loved it that much. So
Mm.
we could never afford a cello, so I
Mm.
borrowed my school's cello every day for like I don't know 10 years, and we could not afford cello lessons,
Mm.
no private lessons. So but we had a decent music program in my public school. So my music teacher was a cellist, so I owe a lot to him.
Mm.
But still, I felt very passionate about it. And of course, music, we can't really make a living. So my dad basically just says, no, it's like, are you nuts?
Wow. Was that heartbreaking for you? Or
We
how
call
did you
it
respond to that?
just realistic. Just have to
Mm,
face
mm,
the hard facts of reality, and them given that time and their parents
mm,
going through war, like the Japanese invasion, and my grandmother going through World War II as well. So it's just being realistic. That's the answer all the time. So, but my maths and sciences are good. I'm top of class, and so I could get into engineering school. And so I chose engineering school because it matched my high school profile with maths and sciences, and electrical and computer engineering requires the highest entry grades. And so I took it. And the other one's engineering science, but engineering science for me is too generic. I like to specialize. And so I took electrical and computer with a specialization or major in electrical. I did not know what I was getting into, and so I think in first year it was very tough because again the big question of why am I here, why am I studying a hard program. I think you mentioned U of T as well, University of Toronto as well. Why? Because it's a subway ride away from home. I could not afford residency.
yeah, yeah. Did you live
Yeah.
at home during
I
that
lived at
time?
home, yeah.
Yeah.
So I traveled like 3 hours of commute every single day. I
Wow.
stayed in the library until like 10, 11
Wow.
p.m. At nights, and study as much as possible at school. Go to school at like 8 a.m. in the morning. So I barely lived at home. I treat home like a residence, but it's
Yeah.
still 3 hours commute.
Yeah.
Yeah, but University of Toronto is a good school. I think one of the top engineering programs, and so why pay extra for residency?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I was confused why I chose electrical, and it was I think close to the middle of the year. They have been inviting guest lecturers, and they invited somebody from Germany who runs a solar company. I forgot which one, but the guest lecturer was showing all the pictures around like Germany putting solar beside buildings as building integrated solar. I remember vividly on top of trains and beside train tracks, and I was like, "This is really cool." And I love nature. I got into photography as well, and so like this is my way to apply engineering to protect the earth. And so then from that point onwards, in first year, I committed my life to energy, and specifically renewables or clean, sustainable energy sector. And so that really inspired me for the rest of my
Mm.
studies and my career
Because of that talk.
because of that talk. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. After graduating into a market with very few clean energy jobs, you eventually landed at Toronto Hydro. What did
Mhm.
those early career years look like for you at Toronto Hydro? How are they shaping your view of the energy sector?
Yeah, so at school, what I realized is I love the grid. I love renewables, but I also love the grid
What did you
because
love
the
about it? Not it's for our listeners that statement probably resonates, but for the vast majority of people they're like what are you talking about?
utilities. But because it is the platform, like it is the network that connects them all. I think the sources of generation and load is really cool, but I think that network effect is very very interesting, and that was like a bit predating like the social media type of social networks type of revolution, but it's preparing for it. Like I think LinkedIn or Google was there around that time as well. And so I was like, what is the network, the platform for energy? And that's the grid. But I did apply to both Ontario Power Generation and Toronto Hydro. I got accepted into both. And I chose Toronto Hydro because they waited for me to come back from vacation. That's really the only reason. And but I was the first new grad engineer they hired for 13 years.
Wow.
So they had a 13-year hiring freeze. And so I'm like the new kid on the block, and the next person is like in his 40s with two kids.
How was that
Yeah.
for you?
Culture shock. Just it's cool, it's fun though, but it's overwhelming. Yeah. But I had a great and amazing supervisor and a great manager at that time. And I'll call him out on this. No, I don't think he's listening, but Peter Lowe is his name. And he used to run the control room for Hong Kong Electric. He also used to run the control room for IESO's Clarkson control room. So he's very experienced, but he's like an old sage, pretty strict. But he's like, Josh, I'm going to retire in like 9 months, and I'm going to teach you everything I know. And
He
so
took
it's
you
like,
under his wing.
totally.
Yeah.
And so it's like every day he took me to a whiteboard, and we will be whiteboarding for like 2 to 3 hours. And he did that for all these months. And I learned a ton from him.
Hmm. He sounds like a really kind person.
He is
Yeah.
absolutely. He changed my life for sure. Yeah.
And then tell me more about the work you were doing at Toronto Hydro in the, was it 5 years or so that you were there?
Yeah, around 5 years. And so I started as an asset manager, so looking at predictive failure back in those days. Now it's really hot. In those days, it's a bit new. So I look at predictive failure rates for asset management and asset investment profiles, look at asset maintenance or reliability centered maintenance as well. But then about uh, 9 months into it, the government started talking about smart grids. And so Peter, at that time, he says, Josh, you're new here. Everyone's old. Everyone will be retiring in like 5 to 10 years. So here's this thing emerging called smart grid. I want you to learn as much as you can and write a report about it. But then he said, you are new here, but I'm going to open up all these channels, talk to my manager, talk to my VP, and I want you to interview every single executive in the company.
Wow.
So as this like kid in his early 20s, I sort of walked into the room of the CEO, of the president, of the C-suites, of the principal engineers, and I interviewed everybody about what do you think is smart grid, and some barriers, challenges, opportunities, etc. And I wrote Toronto Hydro's first smart grid roadmap and defined a strategy. Of course, at that time, the consulting firms will be hovering around as well, the Accentures, etc. And so talk to them as well and sort of internalize Toronto Hydro's strategy. That sat on a shelf as expected. It's supposed to. And then the government came back and say, hey, we are going to convene a smart grid forum consisting of the CEOs of like Toronto Hydro and then Hydro One, IESO, etc., to write legislation around smart
Wow.
grid.
Wow.
Uh, and yeah, and so again, as this like kid in his early 20s, then I was paired up with the president, then afterwards the CEO Anthony Haynes. We met like once every 2 weeks or so
Hmm.
for over a year, and participated in this forum to define policy for smart grid, which resulted in the Ontario's Green Energy and Green Economy Act of 2009, which paved the way for all smart metering, time of use rates, even feed-in tariffs, smart grid infrastructure. So that's really the beginning of it all. And super fortunate. Again, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, I was overwhelmed every single day, but and in the end, I think I concluded by taking that policy legislation back into Toronto Hydro again. And I did another round of strategic planning and actually wrote a 25-year roadmap for Toronto Hydro's smart grid infrastructure.
Are they on track relative to your report?
I think so, minus the AI. I think we could not see the AI wave coming at that
Yeah.
time. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
2000 and well 8 and 9, right?
Yeah.
And but I think the use cases is fairly on track. And I did talk about working towards an autonomous grid all the way back then.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, exactly.
Wow. Impressive. So after about 5 years at Toronto Hydro, you leave to start your first startup, Opus One. Why leave Toronto Hydro? It sounds like you're having this incredible experience with the C-suite. You're setting policy as a 20-something-year-old. And then where did the spark for Opus One come from?
Yeah. So I think going back to like what Peter taught me is like, Josh, you should not stay in a utility for more than 5 years.
Really? How long had he been there?
Well, he's been working in the utility sector for like 30 some odd years, right?
Do
But he's like, if you
you know
stay
why he
in,
said that?
because if you stay in a utility for too long, you'll get too accustomed to its culture. And the utility at that time is not like that now. Now it's really, especially with AI data centers, is really innovating, right? It's transforming itself. And in that time, I think it's just incremental learning and a lot of tinkering, a lot of POCs after POCs. And we still feel that today, but it's even more during that time. So he's like, Josh, yeah, and I'm sure people still talk about it. Do not be a Doug. Do not become a Dumbo utility guy.
Oh.
So, and so he's like, so I have my timelines, but at the same time, I think I pushed a lot of first in kind projects at Toronto Hydro. The first microgrids, sensors, self healing switching, distribution automation systems, a lot of data analytics projects. Putting transformers, I'm putting smart meters on transformers for medium voltage monitoring. So I did a lot of firsts. And then I also got caught in, hey, after all these POCs, what's next? And so I needed to sort of move beyond the current POC atmosphere and look at, hey, can I take what I've learned, the utility culture, the standards, the strategies, and can I take it beyond? So I was looking at, should I join a consulting firm? Should I join the governments to look at policy? Should I join somebody like GE? And I realized I want to start something new, and I really felt this passion or vision to like I'm a born sort of visionary. So how can I take the vision and start doing something with it? And I was young. I was in my mid to late 20s, and I could afford to fail. And so let's just try it. I had no prior business education. I'd never even taken an accounting course. um,
What's
but
P&L?
exactly. So, but I felt a tug and say, hey, here's a really important problem to solve. And at that time, it might not be like big renewables is coming up. Not definitely not data centers and the large big loads. It's electric vehicles. We could see that wave. Solar is picking up speed. The whole infrastructure is going through a crisis with aging assets as well as constrained capacity. So I see the writings on the wall. I might be like 10 years early. I'm always 10 years early. But why not use this time when I could afford to fail to try and prepare for the next 10 years? And so that's how Opus One was formed.
In addition to the stage of your life being one in which you could afford to fail, do you think your upbringing and how humble it was, do you think that also gave you the ability to try and fail, knowing that, I don't know, you don't need a lot, you didn't have a lot before? Was that part of the calculus? I don't know, consciously or subconsciously?
Absolutely subconsciously. But again, born with nothing and I have nothing to lose, right? But I think if there's anything like subconsciously I learned from my upbringing is it's just the grit. It's but I think for my parents, the grit is to make a living and raise our kids. For me, is I was given the freedom to dream,
Yeah.
and I'm not shy to say it. I'm a dreamer, so
Yeah.
and I could afford to dream. So let's I could apply that grit to try something new and figure out what my vision and dream is.
Yeah. And what did you want to do at Opus One? What was the purpose of the company? What were you all doing?
So it was really driven by sustainability. I think going back to my first year, solar inspiration. My sort of mission is to enable 100% renewables, a complete sustainable grid. Um, what that translated into over the times is a Durham system, of course, DER management system. But from a grid perspective, I've always wanted to solve. So, what do we need to do in terms of the grid to enable 100% penetration of renewables? And I knew I did not want hardware, so I had to stay in software. Again, there was no AI, not much AI, apart from forecasting.
Why didn't you
But
want hardware?
uh, It's just not me. I like things that are faster and more agile and nimble.
I relate.
Um, yeah, and I did work in hardware for a bit. So let's say at university during my internship, I was in the embedded software team, but of Hydrogenics, which is the fuel cell company. So it's embedded software, but it's predominantly fuel cells, so hardware. Then afterwards, at the early days of Opus, I helped a friend's company start up a battery storage company called eCanyon. That's also like embedded software for battery storage. And I see like CNC machines, I see lithium ion batteries. I was like, it's great. Ultimately, we're controlling the grid as well, which is coppers and wires. But I want to manage that from a software perspective. And just even adjacently, I got inspired by all the, I guess, the IT revolution at that time. So like Salesforce or Facebook and a lot of boom from the SaaS space or the social media, social networking space. And I want to see how I can apply that for infrastructure. And that's why I chose software.
What It Takes is brought to you by Powerhouse Ventures and Powerhouse Innovation. Powerhouse Innovation is a consulting firm that engages with leading corporations and investors to source and evaluate disruptive startups shaping the future of energy and industry. We're excited to be working with the Cisco Foundation's Regenerative Future Fund, which is focused on backing early stage climate solutions that build resilience, drive decarbonization, and promote a more sustainable, regenerative future. The Cisco Foundation has committed $100 million in grants and impact investments over 10 years to support climate resilience and sustainability, reflecting Cisco's broader view that technology, connectivity, and data are critical enablers to progress across our sector. Powerhouse Innovation provides technical diligence in support of the Foundation's energy investment activities, evaluating seed to Series A startups across clean energy access, carbon solutions, adaptation, and resilience technologies. As AI accelerates innovation across the energy sector, disciplined technical diligence is critical to assessing scalability in a rapidly evolving market. The Powerhouse Innovation team combines technical depth, market context, and direct startup access to help our corporate and investor clients move quickly and confidently towards the most promising opportunities. If your team is focused on innovation in energy or infrastructure, visit powerhouse-innovation.co to get in touch. Opus One grows into something pretty meaningful over the life of the company. You raised $19 million. You have a team of, is it 120 people? Is that right?
Yes,
120 people.
we
And
peaked
then
at
after 12
120.
years, you get acquired by GE for a life-changing amount of money. In the eyes of many, that would be seen as a huge win, a huge success. But on the other side of that acquisition, you personally are not doing very well. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think Opus One, I'm super thankful. That was like, I learned so much. I love my team and think our customers were phenomenal. And I'm super proud of what we have developed. And now if you look at GE, Derms is still there, but the ethos, which is Grid OS, to see the grid as a platform and the software layer as an operating system of the grid, that still is throughout GE right now. So I think my baby has graduated. And so even exit wise, we like, should we still keep raising money to do more derm systems? Or should we naturally join an incumbent because it just makes sense? And in the end of the day, my decision factor to exit was how can I keep riding the path of maximum impact? It's not meaning it's not for the money, it's not to hang on as an owner operator style. It's how can this derm system, this technology, exercise its maximum impact on society and the grid and energy in general. So the exit 2G made complete sense, and we're super happy with it. I think by that time, though, once we exited and I let go of my baby, I think there's a huge emptiness in me. So I think I could relate that back to like grade 7 in middle school. I think, which is like, I think midlife crisis style now, but it's like, who am I or what am I here to do? Money's lesser of an issue or not an issue now, but I have been given a lot of talents, or God has given me a lot of talents. That's what I believe. And so, what do I use it for now? And then I felt like something's really, really wrong. And I don't know what that is. And so I fell into depression. I still at that time I struggled for a long time. Yeah, so that was the transition, but we can take it where we need to next. Yeah.
I appreciate you mentioning it. And this is, as you know, the whole purpose of the podcast is to share the realities of entrepreneurship. And so often what people see is just on LinkedIn and it's just the announcements and it's just the best of the experience. And the reality that many founders have shared is the truth that is, messy and hard and not a linear path. So I really appreciate you just being real about that part of it,
Of
because I think
course.
other founders will listen to this and say, I'm not alone in this because of your willingness to share that part of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, how did you face it? Like, what did you do? And I guess just, yeah, what did you do with it?
Well, if I can take a slight tangent as well, because you
Of
mentioned a
course.
founder story. Again, people only see about the exit. Hey, you
Right.
raised 19, you sold for Y,
Yeah.
and you
You must
divvy
be
it up.
thrilled. You must be so happy.
Exactly. It's like buy your
Yeah.
toys. No, actually, I just told you before this call. I sold my car. I have no car. I drive my wife's minivan for all these years. But during Opus's times, I could recount like 5 times when we could have gotten bankrupt.
Wow.
And because, well, sort of government contracts and funding with these DOE or Canadian equivalent funds, and I think it's feast or famine, right? You hire a lot, then
Yeah.
utility sales cycles always takes longer than you like. So it was very tough. And during that time, those 10 years is when I went from being single to married to having my first kid, second kid, while trying to launch a startup and expand from Canada into US, UK, India, Australia. So we were in 8 countries in the end, and it
Wow.
was very, very tough
Yeah.
balancing all these things. So, but the exit was good. That's what people look at now or remember it now. But the journey is extremely rough. But I have huge support from my wife and my family, and they are really all part of that journey as well. And that's a key balance I had. Yeah, but after exiting, I think really helping, like professionally, still assisting GE, so we can go into that later, which led to ThinkLabs. But personally, I think it was really tough, and I remember one day I said I just have to like burn it off, and so I took a day off. I decided I never exercise. I'm not sporty at all. Never joined a sports team, but I decided to run till I drop. So
Whoa.
I took a ferry, went to Center Island in the southern parts of Toronto, ran 12K around
Oh my gosh.
around
Having never run before, you just ran
never ran
12K.
before. No, so I slowly ran 12K, then sat at a patio, had a beer, and say, "Hey, this feels good. This feels really good." And then it went back on the ferry, and I said, "Okay, can I run home from here?" So I ran another 25K.
Oh my oh my gosh.
And in the end, I was basically limping home. I said, I'm
Yeah.
not going to take an Uber, nor am I going to take a
Yeah.
subway. I'm just going to limp my way back home.
Wow.
So, of course, I was injured and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, this feels really good. So then I decided that I should want to take care of myself. And again, people say the money, it doesn't really matter. So it's my mental health, it's my well-being. So then, yeah, so I started running, picking up casually, and said, I want to, me being me, I'll set crazy targets. And you know what that means. So I said, I'm going to run my first marathon in a year. So I did. And afterwards, I ran my first marathon in Toronto Marathon. I did I think, how much did I did? I think 3:23, something like that, in my
Jeez.
first marathon. And I said, this felt great. And I'm going to run a second marathon. So I ran in Chicago the year after. And that's when I really felt, okay, I'm in my 40s now. I didn't have enough training. So I definitely got my tendonitis afterwards. And so I'm slowing down. I picked up cycling instead. But that's still, it's outwardly. And I realized exercising is important. Taking care of myself is important. But deep inside, I need to address that pain. There's a bit of pain and sadness even more. and it showed up in my family relationships. Sometimes I get emotional extremes. I get some things. Sometimes maybe the kids or whatnot can tip me over. I said, "This is not normal," and so in the end, I had thoughts on like not being here, and and my wife picked that up. And it's like, and she has her own issues to deal with as well. She also has her childhood issues to wrestle with. But I think your spouse being your greatest mirror to reflect your good, bad, and ugly. And so there was one incident after where I think my wife finally snapped me out of it, and it's like I realized, oh, I think I'm sick. I think I'm not doing well. And my wife was like, yeah, you have been like this for the past 5 years. And that was before the exit. And I think the exit gave me the space to let my emotions come out and catch up with my inner self. Yeah, so that let me just pause here for a second.
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy she helped you recognize what you needed, and yeah, of course, very happy that you're here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so maybe I'll with that. So yeah, afterwards, definitely seeked out help and realized it's related to just being able to take care of myself or having a childhood where I can live life a bit more. And so I think my saying now is everybody in their midlife should go through counseling and psychotherapy for all the entrepreneurs, all non-entrepreneurs out there. You've lived a great life. It brought you to where you are. You are a founder, CEO. Now take a break and sort of revisit all your past and your childhood schemas, how you see the world, and which paves the way for the second half of your life. And so that was, I would say that was more transformational for my life than even selling Opus One. And I had a great counselor, and now I have a group of men which I regularly interact with, which we hold each other accountable and support each other on a daily, weekly basis. And it's very, very refreshing.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on, yeah, therapy, executive coaching, like all the
Yes,
support because we're attempting hard things. And, there are plenty of things in life that you wouldn't attempt to do without professional
exactly.
guidance. And so, yeah, I think it's a
Exactly.
great example.
And it's similar, right? Yeah, executive coaching. I have my work mom, and she's amazing. She has been coaching me for the past, I think, 10 years or so. But I'm like, so if at work, if you need help, you hire consultants, you hire
Right?
even a fractional CRO, CMO.
Exactly.
So why can't we get help to support our
Yeah.
personal side? So I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
100%. So you're working as general manager for grid orchestration at GE post Opus One acquisition when you come up with the idea for ThinkLabs. Where did the idea come from? And then how did you decide to start all over again, given everything we just talked about and everything you went through, following the acquisition? And it sounds like it's not the acquisition per se that caused it, although you did say kind of a question of who am I now, but that the acquisition actually gave you space to
Yes, exactly.
address things that you hadn't been able to before. But yeah, how were you thinking about starting all the way over again with ThinkLabs while you were at GE?
Yeah, so at Toronto Hydro, I had Peter Lowe. At GE, I had two very good leaders. One is Nicolas Boucher, the Chief Strategy Officer. The other is Colin Paris, the CTO. So they actually encouraged me to be myself, which is to keep dreaming. So I've been sort of looking at the future of the grid since again like 2005, 2006. So now in 2022, I can do it all over again. And so they could put me on corporate strategy, and GE was refreshing its grid of the future roadmap. And so, very similarly to my hydro days, so I actually went around and spoke to a good number of leaders within the GE energy business, now GE Vernova business, and looking at let's pave a roadmap for the grid of the future. So the area I specifically zoomed into is grid orchestration. So how do we break the silos between, let's say, planning and operations, or transmission and distribution and generation? So how do we go between like data silos as well? And at the end, I converged on the need to drive towards an autonomous grid, full circle back with my hydro days. So I think the rationale being the grid's just getting more and more complex. This is a hard trend. What used to be, well, still solar and storage and DERs, now it's data centers, large loads, or even grid major events like wildfires and storms, etc. So the risks and complexity of the grid is higher than ever. That's not going to stop. And people are still constrained as ever. And we can't do more of the same. That is the definition of insanity. So, how do we do things differently? And that is through massive automation. Now, automation is not new to the industry. I think grid automation, relays, automated generation controls, even software like DERMS, ADMS, EMS, etc., has been automated. But these are typically either full automation in a box, back to hardware. But anything centrally is still a tool for simulation. So, how do we automate more of the decision making and the complexity with more data? And to do that, we have to lean into AI. So we became then is and there was a new CEO of Grid Software, Scott Reeves, who came in. And so Scott's like, oh, we want to apply an incubation model to look at how GE can innovate like a startup. So what's better than to do a startup within a company like GE? And so I was given this freedom and the space, which I'm super thankful for, to build an internal incubation on autonomous grids. And what that became a premier AI unit for teaching AI how the grid works and how power flow works. And that's how ThinkLabs was born.
What did you, as you're embarking on this journey of building ThinkLabs first within GE and then spinning it out, what did you get wrong as a first-time founder at Opus One that you were applying to how you were thinking about starting ThinkLabs?
Yeah, I think it's all a journey. I think Opus One, and that's related to like how I decided to start all over again as well, because the vision never changed, as you heard. The strategy never changed, but we have a new tool. Um, I think statistically, if you look at Harvard Business Reviews, I think the best entrepreneurs are in their 40s and 50s. So not your college grad. Yes, you have the Zuckerbergs of the world, but that's the exception, not the norm. And so how can I apply everything I've learned at Opus into the next thing? And the job isn't done. I think that's what's really tugging me professionally. I think we have built DERMS, that's great. Grid modeling, that's great. Grid OS, that's great. But the job is not done. The grid has not been solved, and engineers would love to solve that problem. So I see Opus One with all my learnings as a stepping stone into ThinkLabs. Things that I learned as mistakes, I think every entrepreneur will be. I think just overall business strategy, focus on revenue quality, how do you build infrastructure, how do you sell, go to market. But I think most dearly would be how to lead. That is probably the most important thing, because when I started Opus, I think I was 27, 28.
Wow, yeah, you were young.
And so learning leadership initially without an executive coach as well is all trial and error. I've never done a startup before. I've never raised capital before. I've never led a team more than 10 people before. I've never had a finance team. So everything was just learning from scratch. And so I think I could take all those learnings and apply it at ThinkLabs.
Tell me about the spin out from GE. How did that come about?
The stars lining up. I think there's a lot of heroes in my life which contributed to our path, and so when we were picking up some momentum in at within G incubation, and especially with Florida Power and Light as a early customer, and Rob Adams there, we really jived in terms of, okay, what does the autonomous grid look like? And so that when we've done quite some impressive AI proof points, things that at Opus I was trying to solve for like 5 years. At this incubation, we solved it with AI in 2 months, and this was just miraculous. So there's real legs to this, and at that time, the GE corporate side, Scott Strazik, the CEO now of GE Vernova, was looking at innovation projects, which as GE was preparing to go IPO as well. So what might be able to be spun off as units? Where can we send off our best ideas, which are great ideas, but may not work within the current strategy? So Scott re-spun up GE Ventures. And at that time, the president there, Lee Spector, her and I really got along well to look at, okay, so what project? Usually venture businesses, they invest and deploy capital to buy. In this case, the first task was actually to spin, which is unheard of. So we leveraged that opportunity and we became GE's first ever startup spinoff. And so I would say without Scott Rees or Colin and Nicola, we would never start the incubation. And without Scott Strazik and Lee Moore, we could have never spun off.
Well said. What did building the team look like? So you do the spinoff, you're on your own, you're independent. What did building the ThinkLabs team look like in the early days, especially because you're having to bring together power system engineers, ML engineers, Gen AI experts, people who actually understand utility workflows? That's a hard talent set to pull together.
Yeah, I think if there's any sort of learnings or pattern recognition Opus gave me was like to innovate, you always have to mesh. You have in our space, you have to mesh power system PhDs, software engineers and architects, full stack, front end, back end. With now the third leg would be like AI ML folks. The purple unicorn would be power system folks who did AI in their PhDs. I think it's more common now. Purple unicorns started breeding these days. In those days, it's like super hard to find, and they tend to be too researchy. So now we need to bring them into the commercial space and to have the risk appetite to join a startup. But I think I learned sort of how to blend teams together, and I had great people by my side, so which also spun off with me, especially in particular Neo Valley, my CTO, George Zhang, my head of R&D. So we really formed this killer combo of vision, strategy, and sort of my experience with raising capital, working with great investors like yourselves, with hardcore research and development, like TRL 1 to 2, that we can bring into 3 and then push it to 9. And then Neil, who just makes things happen, who builds a really scalable, robust products that becomes very mature very quickly. So I think the 3 of us really hit it, and we could scale afterwards. So that the nuclei is very critical in the beginning.
You mentioned fundraising and investors. Powerhouse Ventures was really fortunate to co-lead your seed round in 2024, right as you were spinning out. Tell me about the seed round. Was it easy or hard to raise? How did you decide who to bring in?
Very hard.
I know we saw it from our standpoint, which was nothing but you being like, "Oh yeah, we're all doing great. Everything's wonderful. It's easy."
It's never easy. Good things are never easy. But we're really thankful. The outcome's always great. I think people look at the outcomes, but the journey is hard. I think it's hard because I think spinning out from GE, I always say, is 10 times harder than being acquired by GE. Or raising a round. Us ThinkLabs is much easier than spinning out, or raising a round to spin out as well, because you're fundamentally playing double-sided. So with the investors, we have the 5 investor groups that we're working with, and then with GE internally, it's not one unit. GE is not one decision-making body. It's probably 5 or 10 different ones, and to balance the dynamics on both sides while staying true to what are you investing into, which is ThinkLabs. We still have a business to run. We still have a team to build. So I think that that type of dynamics is probably the most complicated that I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
but it worked out very well. So yeah, good things do happen when you power through it with grit.
Mm-hmm. ThinkLabs is using AI to model, analyze, and operate the grid. Tell me about the early days of tech development at ThinkLabs for something so complex. Where did you all start?
Yeah, I think with let me do an like in software we always say try fast, fail fast. I think most software you can do that. Power systems you can't really because you are dealing with mission critical infrastructure. But I think the beautiful thing about AI is, and we sort of became the leaders in physics informed, but we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We can stay 100% true to Power Systems 101, which is the physics, and we can inject or supercharge it with the power of AI. And so I think that worked beautifully as a initial like product development and product market fit because we need the trust of the engineers and our mission critical infrastructure, but we need the innovation, scalability, the learning, the intelligence of AI. So we can bring those together. And finding the market fit wasn't hard because, well, one is it's the same problems to solve since 20 years ago. You still have grid congestion problems. You still have solar variability problems. The grid is still aging. People are still retiring. So I think it's great that we're not finding a new problem to solve, but the problem is far more acute. And I could apply my patterns from Opus and before and just doing it completely like transformationally with AI. So I think that really helped.
You mentioned selling to utilities, which are notoriously, long sales cycles, zero tolerance for failure. You're asking them to trust AI for critical workflows. Who was ThinkLab's first customer? How did you get them? And what did you have to prove technically to ensure that they would trust you?
Yeah, so the first was actually while we were still within GE. So Florida Power and Light has a great forward-thinking team, and so they trusted us and gave us our first engagement, and we basically proved out with AI to solve the hardest use case. So still today, it's probably still the hardest use case, which is using AI to solve distribution state estimation and spare all the technical details, but it's a big guessing game. Physics suck at guessing, so AI is great at guessing. So now we can have very accurate guessing for power flow in real time. And they really, really supported us through this journey. After we spun off, I think our first customer was Southern California Edison, and that was a very public, high profile project we did with press releases and all that. And the team's awesome. Like Shinjini Menon, the VP there, I think Brendan Russell, I think his vision and Shinji's vision really paved the way to, but it's all driven by two things, I would say, driven by a very clear definition of pain and problem to solve. For them, it's the volume of interconnections. We're not talking about data centers here. We're talking about like, can I onboard crunch through hundreds, if not thousands, tens of thousands of interconnection requests per month? You can't do that with physics alone. So very clear problem to solve. And the second is I love how they gave us the space to innovate how we solve the problem. So it was not prescriptive. It's not like thou shall use this and that type of AI and AI models, but how can you apply AI to do things differently? And so they gave us the freedom to really step up to the challenge, and the results were phenomenal. And as you can see from the public press releases, let's say we've taken a 30 to 45-day study. We have shrunk that down to 2.5 minutes. We have taken sub-transmission and distribution planning, which were completely siloed. We could co-simulate them within seconds to minutes. And it's all 8760 power flows to hourly for the year. And what I love the most is it's generative, meaning traditional solutions just give you problems. You have a congestion, you have a violation, but you got to solve your own problems and try it again with my grid simulator. For us is we have gone through so many scenarios and we have seen so much data that we suggest and optimize that you should put a battery here, or you should have a load flexibility contract here, or you might want to switch your grid around to redistribute load. So these type of like generative solutions, not generating text or images or cat videos, but generating grid solutions, I think that is the absolute game changer.
Hmm. When you're pitching customers on this vision for this autonomous grid, say more about what that means in practice. And then are there decisions that you think there should always be a human in the loop for?
I think there should always, let me start from that first. There should always should be a human in the loop and then over time human on the loop. Because let's say if I
What's the difference between in the loop and on the loop?
in the loop is still sequential. On the loop is still it's you can oversee it, you can override it, you can grab the wheels whenever you want to. Human in the loop meaning, yeah, I think your driving app can give you a route, but you still have to drive or you still have to press go. So it still slows things down, but you have the human authority to check. But on the loop is really okay. Just grab the wheels and but you're responsible to monitor all the time. I think autonomy. We one thing is we society hypes up a lot of autonomy on driving, but I think autonomous grid is way more valuable than autonomous driving because it's mission critical. It keeps the lights on. Everybody needs it, and it's huge, expensive infrastructure. So from the investor side, I think we should all pour more money into autonomous grids because that's where the real value and opportunity is. Then I think utilities tend to be depends who you talk to. I think a lot of executives embrace it fully. There's a lot of control room of the future roadmaps, utility of the future roadmaps. It all points towards greater autonomy. Now, the problem is not autonomy, is can you trust it? And so when we go into the mid levels, the people what I call the heroes who actually do the work, then they are more conservative, but they know they need help as well. So I think analogies always help. So meaning, hey, you're already like fully automated on your substation automation systems. You're grid switching all the time without you knowing. All these generators are balancing without even human in the loop anyways. So now all we're doing is to automate a power system study. So earning the trust is critical, which means a few things. One is it has to be very explainable AI, which physics informed AI does the trick. It's not a black box at all. It is very transparent. If you want to know how all the weights of the neural network works, we can give you all the weights. Then it's very auditable, meaning take an AI result. It's a deterministic result. Compare it with a physics-based solver. It's the same thing. So I think that type of process, explainability and auditability really helps anchor the trust. Then the rest is just all the fun stuff, which is super speed, hyperscale, and the generative intelligence side. That's all bonus, but establishing that initial trust is critical.
Hmm. In the early days of building the tech platform, what was working and what wasn't, especially as you're trying to scale from single studies to running millions of grid scenarios with the accuracy you get, which is like 99.7%.
Yeah, and we keep improving as well. It's insane. It's amazing. I think actually I just got a message from my CTO that we trained over 1,000 hours for a new network we did. I can't disclose who that is, but new network, we trained 1,000 hours of grid operations in under 3 minutes. And so it was fun. It just keeps getting better. But I think with technology, it's not really what there's nothing wrong is bad. I think wrong is just learning to adapt with the situation. I think a few things we've learned along the way. One is we are not convinced yet of the need for a foundation model for the grid. I think it's really good. Great people are working on it. Linux Foundation, Microsoft is, etc. Those are really good. But to bring us the accuracy needed for a commercial application, surrogate models work a lot better, or various type of hybrid AI models. So I think that's a key learning. So one is let's not totally start off with assuming that foundation models is the be all and end all. Let's challenge that. Deep machine learning, small, specialized, finely tuned models builds more credibility and trust early on. I would say Second assumption that was false is only go all AI or all physics. And sure, I can have physics inform AI, but it's still all AI. And I think we are realizing more and more that it's not either or, it's and. So we are bringing actually more and more physics into the AI models. And that does not mean running existing like 1980s tools inside in the loop. No, it's not. But we're still bringing more physics equations and dependencies, etc., into the AI models. And I think we have a very long way to go to keep optimizing those hybrid models.
Over the next 2 years of continuing to build out the platform, what customers are you bringing in and what are you delivering for them?
Yeah, so I would say let's not name who they are, but they all large IOUs. And you mentioned the sales cycle, and this is incredible. I think this is something we have been learning. I've never seen this before. We've onboarded one of the largest West Coast IOUs with a 2 month sales cycle. We have onboarded one of the largest IOUs, period, in with a 5 month sales cycle. We have onboarded one of the largest ISOs with a 2.5 month sales cycle. So these are just like, I think the industry is really moving and unlocking. I think we're doing the right things and the good things, but it's just not us alone. It's the timing of the problem with the solution together. It's really working well. The type of problems we're solving is very, very common and repeatable now because AI can do a million things, right? We can get distracted so easily. And pretty much every week we're getting new requests for use cases. But what's very, very recurring these days is transmission planning. Um, Cluster studies, interconnection impact studies, transmission flexibility studies with large loads, even operational studies. So how do we switch transmission systems without violating contingency criteria? And increasingly now, wrapping that AI grid simulator with, well, the boring stuff, which is the agentic side. Can I chat with it? Can I run studies as simple as prompting? Can I use AI to simulate a grid situation, but walk the user through the steps that I should do to mitigate these constraints? That's the human empowering of the coach, the true assistant. But the core is still these machine learning grid simulation models, or what we call the AI digital twin. And so I think that has been phenomenal. And yeah, we are really focused on solving that for the largest utilities.
You started ThinkLabs just 2 years ago in 2024, and in March of this year, you raised a 28 million Series A, bringing total capital raised to 33 million. Tell me about the Series A and what you learned about fundraising that you think other founders should know.
We are very lucky.
It's not just luck. Give yourself more credit than that.
I think being a repeat founder really helps.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't take it for granted, but I think, and I was fortunate to have relationships or people whom I've grown with as well. So EIP led the round. Samir Reddy is the managing partner. He's a longtime friend. He was Opus One's first investor, and Opus One was his first investment. So we were his first exit as well. And so I think we have that track record of working together, and he's an amazing board member as well. So I think having the focus on utilities is finally, I guess, paying off, or the time is right. And EIP, of course, representing a significant utility base is critical. And then pairing that with, well, Edison, given the success of our SCE project, and then NVIDIA, I think that's really, really interesting. So really signaling to the industry that this is the grid plus AI, and this is what ThinkLabs mean. I think it's key. So I think the Series A was very natural. I think we have the right relationships. It's the right timing. We have the right usage of funds. The market's picking up. It wasn't forced. And I would say, compared to Opus, I think we were always on the uphill battle with fundraising, given DERMS and all the complexities around DERMS. But this time we see a lot of pull, customer pull and investor pull. and maybe it's just timing. Maybe one more comment on the fundraising side. I remember like when we were raising our A at Opus, I was pitching to a whole bunch of family offices in a big conference. And I was like, yeah, we're Opus One. We sell to utilities proudly. And
Crickets.
it is a very tough nut to crack, but whoever can crack that nut will unlock trillions of value. Crickets, right? Nobody believed me.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I love the grid, but I really still believe that the grid holds a lot of value. And now if you look at AI's dependency on energy, it's and how affordability, what affordability means to everybody who needs electricity, it holds tremendous value. And I think right now we are just in the beginning of really unlocking all that value.
You touched on this briefly earlier that your leadership has changed from Opus One days to ThinkLabs. How has it changed?
I think confidence is one thing. I think at Opus One, it's a lot of trial and error, is learning from scratch. And as a young entrepreneur engineer, I don't know what I wanted and needed.
Yeah.
So I was very dependent on people who have been there, done that. My ex-CTOs, ex-CFOs, ex-chief commercial officers, and try to inspire them in applying the skills to our industry. And that was like early days of Smart Grid 1.0. So you can't really find a lot of like CTOs and CFOs from the sector, right? Or CCOs from the sector. So a lot of trial and error. We learned a lot, but the hard way. But I think the lessons are great. This time, I think just the assertiveness and precision on exactly what I want and exactly what the industry, what the product, what the market needs. I think it's all execution. There's no guesswork, and made a ton of difference.
Mm. Can you speak to you being who you are, being Asian Canadian, coming from an immigrant family, especially in an industry that doesn't necessarily look like you? What has that been like for you?
So I think that does embed itself in a few of my key transition points, from Toronto Hydro to Opus, even from GE to ThinkLabs. I think it's very clear that I don't necessarily fit in. And not fitting in can be very good as well. One, it makes it stronger. And two, it just means I have to be even more confident and bold in what I do. If what I look on my experience, so I don't have an MBA, I took some executive education afterwards. I'm not 6 foot tall, I'm 5'4". And we used to have this joke saying we're LCDs, not liquid crystal displays. We are little Chinese dudes. I can say this. Not everybody can say that, but that's a joke we had in my upbringing. But we just have to try harder, maybe be smarter, be very confident. I think the analogy I use is how I was dating when I was dating my wife. Her first comment after seeing me was, "Oh, I thought you were taller." And my answer is, and we still laugh at this, is my confidence is worth 3 inches. So you can't wear high heels. It's okay. In reality, I'm taller than her slightly by an inch. But I think that's the same thing. I think if the world's bigger, looks bigger than you, acts bigger than you, then you just have to be even more sure of how you make your decisions and let the results speak for itself.
You mentioned your wife, you're a partner to her, a parent to your 3 sons. You're also a founder and a CEO. What is it like being all 3 of those things at once?
Yeah, that is probably the formula that I haven't optimized yet. I think I need a reinforcement learning agent to do that. It's tough, but I think they are not compartmentalized. I think looking at this from an integrated manner is critical. I think as opposed to my dad, not to his offense, but I think I really bring my kids into what I do. I still don't like to talk about work. Like when I log off, I try to log off. I'm not a very verbose person outside of work. But I think I keep my kids and my wife very close to like journeying with me. And it's funny. It's like even yesterday, my 5-year-old was wearing a ThinkLabs T-shirt
Oh, cute.
to kindergarten to SK,
Uh-huh.
and like we all love how he works. You are the ThinkLabs future ThinkLabs guy, but
Oh.
I think they proudly wear it. They write me signs on my desk, even behind this monitor, on keep up the good work. I'm reading it.
Oh.
Keep up good work, Baba. And so
Oh, that's adorable.
and so they support me, they enable me, they understand some of my pains, they celebrate, and this is what I'm learning as well. Because my family, when I was my upbringing, we never celebrated. No, not much birthdays, no Christmas, no holidays, no Thanksgiving, no graduation, no
Wow.
performance. So there was nothing. Too down to earth.
Yeah.
But here is my wife is amazing, where we try to celebrate the small things, and so they are part of that. They keep me work being the best I can and working the hardest I can. But now traveling can be the hardest. So we have strict formulas and guardrails on how much I can travel, and we just try to find, I think, just openness and working it out, and not. It's very critical that I'm not assuming I'm going to use the word, a superior position, that I am the founder CEO, I'm the breadwinner, hence I'm going to travel all I want, and you guys need to sort of comply because I'm trying to make a living. I know some friends or other business leaders who do that. For me, it's not going to work. I think I'm gonna
Mhm.
drive my wife nuts and my kids nuts. And so we have like, this is what I'm dealing with. So what's the right amount of travels? How long, overnight or not? So as you know, I take as many red eyes as I can. um, my 10-year-old still cries almost every time I travel,
Oh.
and I travel almost every week or every other week. So I keep that in mind, call them as much as I can, but knowing that it's not just me and my selfish side, it's us, it's a we
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I like the integrated approach.
Mhm.
Zooming out, if we succeed at building an autonomous grid, what does the grid look like in a decade, and what role is ThinkLabs playing?
I think it will be completely familiar, but also a very different experience. Familiar because we are still solving the exact same thing we need to solve for on the grid: safety, reliability, resiliency, efficiency, affordability, and if I can even inject sustainability. So I think that's all the virtues and values we still have on the grid. We're just doing it a lot faster, better, more robust, much more defensible solutions. But I think the user experience will be very different. Today, most of the engineers' time to study the grid is actually not planning. It is preparing data, grabbing data from laptops and databases, doing a lot of work cleaning and translating data sets, setting up the analysis, and then you press run and you wait hours, days, sometimes weeks until you get a result, and you spend more time doing business intelligence reports, and you start the cycle over and over again when your interconnection queue changes or when your executive asks more what if scenarios. It's a hamster wheel. Um, the experience of that in the future, or even now, my future is now, because I think we're defining what happens in the next 10 years, is you just prompt it. Or it prompts you. The AI analyzes the grid all the time and prompts you, say, hey, I might see an issue here. What do you think? I'm thinking of these solutions. Can you confirm, or what other solutions have I been missing? So it's truly that autonomous experience with human in the loop and then on the loop. But you won't be on that hamster wheel anymore. And I compare that hamster wheel to even like a calculator. Um, yeah, and the invention of the calculator automated all my long divisions, all my paper math. I don't miss it though. Now I can actually use it to calculate, to run my business cases, to do my grocery math and whatnot. But I don't miss it. And I think that's what we need to do, to use the data, use its capabilities, and not not remiss long division on paper.
Well said. We're going to close with our high voltage round. These are quick questions with quick answers, quick, like 5-second answers. First, Josh Wong, if you were going to be an animal, what would you be and why? Not what you want to be, what you would be.
What I would be, not want to be.
Correct.
Since childhood, I would be a peregrine falcon, just the fastest bird in the world. I dive and I'm laser focused.
What inspires you?
Family, my faith.
I appreciate you mentioning that. Some guests talk about it, and I know it's not as prevalently discussed in our industry. And there was this whole Silicon Valley episode about like closeted religious people in tech because they felt like they couldn't talk about it. But I appreciate that part.
Yeah. I'm a born again Christian, so that's me.
If you had to start a new career tomorrow, what would it be?
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what to do. I want to start a foundation that mixes the venture model with the philanthropic model. Because I think the charity and philanthropic organizations are overdue for a massive transformation overhaul. The model must change, and so can we apply a venture model to bring that level of disruptiveness?
Other than yourself, to whom do you attribute your success?
My wife, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Tell me about a specific time you failed.
Yeah, the time when I went through mental health challenges and I put my wife in this very challenging spot. I think she was under a lot of stress.
Is there a commonly held industry belief that you think is wrong?
Decentralize everything. That was probably the common belief a few years ago, maybe not now, but there was the big 3Ds, but the decentralization is a big one. Yeah, which I think is wrong.
When are you your best self?
When I can dream.
What is your worst trait?
My worst trait, not knowing when to stop.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
4-day work weeks. I think we need a bit more balance. Maybe the North American ways of working.
If there was just one person who was going to hear this episode, who would you want it to be?
Let it flow naturally. Nobody. I'm an introvert. I'm very open, but I think let things be organic.
Okay, but if you had to choose,
I would choose for my kids to listen to this 5 years later. Because right now they might not understand everything, but I think my oldest one is, and I think my story means a lot to him, and I'm sure the other two as well.
Yeah, love that. Finish these sentences for me. Companies fail because
they adapt too slow.
If you really knew me, you would know
how imperfect I am.
Success is
knowing when to stop.
If I could have done one thing differently, I would have.
I actually have no regrets, so I wouldn't. That's an honest answer. Yeah.
If the world knew me for one thing, it would be
I tried my hardest to fulfill my dreams.
I'm most proud of
what I do now. It's starting companies, running AI for the grid.
To build a successful startup, what it takes is
relentless pursuit and grit, whatever it takes.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to end. Josh, I've really, really enjoyed getting to know you better. Like I said earlier, we were so fortunate to back you, but to understand more of who you are and how much distance you've traveled to do what you do is makes it even more of an honor to know you and to back you and to support your vision. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to learn more about you and share your story.
And thank you for your trust as well and for the partnership.
Yeah, of course. course. Of course. Josh Wong is the founder and CEO of ThinkLabs. Join us each month on What It Takes for stories of founders building our clean, energy abundant future, their upbringings, their risks, their failures, and their breakthroughs that are transforming our world. What It Takes is produced by Powerhouse Ventures and Powerhouse Innovation. Powerhouse Ventures backs seed stage startups building the future power system across energy, infrastructure, and AI. If you're thinking about building something in this space, get in touch with our team at powerhouse-ventures.co. Powerhouse Innovation partners with leading corporations and investors to source and evaluate disruptive startups shaping the future of energy and industry. You can learn more at powerhouse-innovation.co. If you are enjoying the show, you can support us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you know someone who would like this episode featuring Josh Wong and ThinkLabs, we would love it if you share the show with them. Julia Ranney is our producer, Christopher McGovern and Marta Alvarez are our media engineers. Original music by Sean Marquand. I'm Emily Kirsch. This is What It Takes.